Hello everyone and welcome to Texas Motor Speedway. It is the night of Sunday, September 24th, and we are here after the Echo Park Automotive 400, the first ever 400-mile cup race at Texas Motor Speedway. It was quite an eventful one. Even with 400 miles, the race is 3 hours 14 minutes, and there were 11 cautions. Not short on attrition. Definitely some playoff drivers that will need some good days in the next 2 weeks. But the biggest story is at the end. It was William Byron who took the lead in the final restart with 6 laps to go and claimed his first win at Texas, his 6th of the 2023 season, the 10th of his career, and for Team Hendrick, the 300th win for the HMS in Cup Series competition, the most of any team. You know, Bubba Wallace started on the pole. Definitely looked like Larson was one of the fastest cars as well. But the story early in the race was tires. At lap 40, we had Austin Dillon crash out. He finished last because a wheel flew off, and every single component of the wheel just kind of like was littered on the track. Obviously, you know, he was frustrated. Disappointment of the day. Then Todd Gillen had another problem with the wheel, and he was frustrated in the fact that they didn't have too much damage, but because they had to get pushed back, back to the garage, they were out of the race. So definitely not happy definitely not good for them. Maybe that's a rule saying that if you go to the garage for crash damage, you're done. Maybe that's a rule that needs to be changed. But then after that, it was Kyle Busch that wrecked out again, I believe, with another flat tire. Wyatt, you could talk to Kyle. What did he have to say?
Well, Kyle said it was a problem with the tire. It really affected how his car was handling. And once the tire kind of started giving out and losing air, he got up the track, got pretty much into the slippery stuff that nobody was running in, just ran into the wall, had to drive it backwards to even have a chance to salvage the car, and it was just the end of the day for him. It's a tough break for him and that team. RCR had a terrible day today for him and Dillon, obviously. Tires really took him out, and it's going to be a challenge for him to go into Talladega, of course, of how wild card natured that race is, and Charlotte Roval to climb his way back in the playoffs. He is dead last now in the points.
Yes, he will definitely need some good days. Around the same time, Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs got together on a pit stop, and there was enough damage to the control arm of the 54 car that Gibbs pulled it behind the wall as well. That was not the end of the carnage, though, as probably the biggest moment of the race came with 19 laps to go. It was Kyle Larson who was stayed out. Bubba Wallace had stayed out under a caution for J.J. Yaley. They restarted front row. Larson had led 99 laps. Bubba led 111. Those two were the class of the field. Larson had the lead, but Bubba got the advantage on the restart. The two were side by side. Larson was a little bit behind. Going into turn 1 at lap 249, he tried to make something happen, and he just lost the car and had a very violent hit into the inside wall. His day was done. Fortunately, he was okay, but obviously, you know, with how fast of a car he had, he was very disappointed with the result. And then after that, it was a multi-car crash involving Ryan Blaney, AJ Allmendinger, Eric Jones. Jones was another big story of the race because he was running second to Larson in much of the stage until he pitted, and by pitting, you know, before the caution that Larson wrecked under, he was back in the pack, and that unfortunately got him swept up in the wreck. Obviously, he's been very pleased with the amount of speed that Legacy has had in the number 43 car in the last couple of races, but obviously disappointed in the results. Was not able to speak to Ryan Blaney, but obviously he'll be a big hit, you know, going into Talladega. It's not the end of the world, but obviously with the wild cards at Talladega and Charlotte, drivers needed all the points they could get here. And then when you had someone like AJ, he put it very blunt, and he was in the crash involving Blaney, Jones, and others. Basically said there's nothing redeeming about today, and that's kind of the way it was for a lot of drivers this time around, especially the high attrition. But going back to the finish, after Larson's wreck, it was Bubba Wallace in the lead. After that, there was one final restart, 6 to go. Byron got by. Ross Chastain came almost out of nowhere to finish second. Bubba was third. You got to talk to both of them after the race. Wyatt, what did they have to say?
Ross was super thankful and just super impressed with the 2-tire strategy call that got him all the way back up He was running 30th at one point in the middle of the race and looked like he was going to get lapped. And he was in a tough and dire point situation. And it ended up helping him out. He got past a lot of that carnage. A lot of cars, good cars in front of him got totaled. And he found his way right behind William Byron out of the blue, it seemed like, for his WEC Chevrolet. Getting a second place and getting him valuable points, and I believe 10 points above the cutoff line for him, is a win in his book, just about. And for Bubba, it seemed like kind of a loss, because he was arguably on fresh tires, maybe second or third fastest car in the field. And once Larson went down, it seemed like nobody could catch him. But he just had issues trying to get past Chase Briscoe. Then the tires kind of fell to the fresher tires of Byron and Chastain and all of them. And he was very frustrated after the race. It's just one of those races that kind of fell away from him. It's good points for him today, but at the end of it all, it's kind of a losing feeling for Bubba after that.
Another big player in the race was Denny Hamlin. Despite the damage with contact with Ty Gibbs on pit road, he was one of the fastest cars. Before the split pit strategy happened with 22 to go, he was running third behind Larson and Jones. He elected for 2 tires. He managed to make his way back up to 5th. Fortunately, maybe could have won, but obviously did not end up that well for them. But, they managed to salvage a day. He's also, just like Larson, he too has looked, incredible to start the playoffs. And he will go into Talladega with a pretty good margin. And, something we saw, and we saw this yesterday in the Xfinity race too, is that tire wear matter. And while Texas hasn't generally been known for passing, when there were tire differences between the cars, there was actually quite a lot of passing. In fact, the second stage before Larson got the lead for the first time, it was fun to watch the cars on fresh tires kind of cut through the field and and get by the cars that had stayed out. So, still a lot of work to do with Texas regarding what configuration they decide to do. But for Texas standards, it was not that bad in terms of action. Definitely was not one groove followed the leader for much of the day. But again, for Texas, it was a pretty good race. But that's the first race of the round of 12. We have Talladega up next. We have the Roval after that. Definitely going to be a wild card for the next 2. Talladega, as we know, can be anyone's race. Playoff drivers are still in the playoffs, whether they're above the cut, below the cut. Definitely been a stressful 2 weeks. But that is all from Texas Motor Speedway. I'm Steven Stumpf. He is Wyatt Watson, and we will be back next week at Talladega with a brand new crew that will bring you all the live action.
I'll be there too.
All right, until then, see you guys around.
See you there.
Hi, this is Steven Stumpf. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Check out the 2 videos beside me, and for more racing content, visit frontstretch.com.